In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
Hey, this is something a little bit different. So for every Patreon subscriber or Subscribestar subscriber at the $10 level, they get monthly phone time with me. And generally what I do is I record the phone conversations, and I will post the first of them up on the main feed. So this is one of those phone conversations. I hope you enjoy it. So if you don't enjoy, if you're like, I don't want to listen to this, that's fine. You're still going to get your episodes promised for the week, but just go ahead and skip this one if you're not interested in it. That's fine. It's fine with me. It's fine with them. It's cool. But it's just a way for me to get to know the people that are into the show. And you know, you go on these phone conversations with these folks every month, and you get to learn fun stuff. You get to make friends with them, and it's a good time. It's fun. So that's what this episode is all about. If you want to skip it, go ahead. But you know, we'll be back on Friday and again on Sunday. So thank you. But I do hope you enjoy it. Some fun stuff does come out of these. A lot. Often. Most of the time.
The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Record it, yeah.
All right, good. There we go. We're recording. So, hey, it's great to meet you, and you know, I just want to say thank you for your support and all that. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I'm happy to support. You know, the podcast, like a few of the others, is kind of the background to my daytime. You know, so it's appreciated from this side. It's really keeps me sane at the right times, and it just keeps the good, honest information flowing, man. You know.
Yeah. So what kind of topics do you like the best?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, how long have I been on the Abracast? I'm kind of like a podcast junkie at this point, like a lot of people. I kind of, when I seen you, it was kind of like just searching for some random topic, and I seen the symbol on the kind of iTunes. I think it was like 6 months ago, and I noticed that I immediately gravitated to like the 60s counterculture, kind of Kennedy, Clinton. I mean, that's kind of like where a lot of people get introduced to the whole vibe, I think, you know, through the kind of the front and center political scene, and seeing the kind of, you know, the kind of different nefarious goings on. So I'm still really like a massive fan of I've literally just done last month, I think I did all the counterculture stuff. I did the Acid Orange Sunshine, I did all that stuff, you know. I'm big on that stuff, the 60s and that whole era, even going through to the 70s and, you know, before 50s, the Red Scare. I just love it, that whole period, you know.
It's cool because like a lot of conspiracy podcasts or whatever, like it seems like they go out of their way to not deal with like the stuff that's right out in front of your face, you know. Like you could find a bunch of podcasts that talk about like the secret space program and all that stuff. And I'm like, you don't even have to go that far, man. Just turn on your fucking TV. You can see plenty of conspiracy right there.
Shit, especially right now, eh? But yeah, for sure, man. And you know, like what I really like is what I kind of like, I suppose, that I think is unique about the Abracast is kind of like pretty low key. is you just lay it out there and just put your opinion in, you know, just sign it kind of like intermittently. It's not an overload of opinion. It's not really an overload of kind of even content necessarily. I think you've got a good kind of editing vibe going on, you know, in terms of making it palatable. So yeah, definitely that's the stuff. But I must admit, I've tried kind of like, I've got like, you know, a heaps busy life and stuff. I've tried to do a couple of series, you know, kind of like when you're reading from kind of a text, but I've never managed to go straight through for a full one, you know. I've kind of gone in bits and bobs, but I like it all, man. I think really I'm kind of quite isolated. Where I am is there's not a big scene of there's not a big scene of kind of, abstract thinking, to be honest with you, let alone conspiracies. I'm in a really like old school kind of neighborhood in the UK. So yeah, I'm kind of out on an island here with my views a lot of the time. So it's good. It's just good to have, man, you know?
Yeah. So what's the media like where you are? Are they talking a lot about the States?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's always that way. To be honest, where I am specifically is really different to the mainland UK and London, all that sort of stuff. I'm actually on an island. It's off the coast of France. I'm like 14 miles from France, but we've got English culture and it goes, you know, way back when. So it's like Jersey, right? So I'm like in old Jersey, where New Jersey gets its name from, sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, we're like this real kind of sectioned off. We've got our own government, we've got our own everything, but we're only like 9 by 5 miles. So it's just bizarre, man. You can walk around my island in a day, and that's it. It's done. And that's where we live all of our time. And you can just, you know, it's like, it's insane. And so we've got our own media, we've got our own paper, our own radio, we've got a local government with its own issues. But obviously we kind of look towards Parliament and the UK and kind of everything that's going on there as our next closest kind of contemporaries. But the American situation is always in the background. I think it's more for us. It's more kind of like a popcorn affair, you know. We look at the American situation as kind of just this huge, glitzy, sort of badass, deep, involved kind of political landscape that doesn't really affect us. Well, it didn't do. I think, you know, the whole world's getting squeezed into a single sort of, you know, paradigm at the moment. But yeah, we know it. People probably know American politics better than they know our local politics, to be honest, you know, because it's more interesting.
Yeah, it's weird, like trying to put myself in the shoes of someone that's removed so much, and like, you know, it seems like you would look in at us and just be like, look at this fucking clown show that's going on over there. Like,
yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, the whole, I guess it's like anywhere. It depends how you look at it and how involved you are, and from what aspect you approach it. Right? You see, like when I was first into kind of politics as like a younger guy, just as like an interest, all you see is kind of what they want you to see. You know, you just see these two groups. It's the same in most places, right? You got two groups, essentially conservatives and liberals. You see these two groups who are kind of, you know, showing that they have each one has the better idea, that the other side is the enemy and stuff. And you can look at that all day. And I think a lot of people do. And they kind of look at it as a bit of a monkey show. But, you know, when you get more into the kind of occultic conspiracy stuff, then all bets are off, man. You know, I think the American story, and you know, that's probably another group of stuff that I listened a lot to, is the American sermon stuff. Masonic history stuff, I really like that, because I think I look at America as this huge, like centuries long sociological kind of occult experiment, you know, in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, there's obviously so many elements to that, but I look at it with a lot of respect and a lot of amazement in a lot of ways, because I think you guys really have the biggest melting pot of just everything, you know. It's just so vast and varied, you know, everything going on there.
I wish more of my countrymen looked at it like you look at it, you know. Yeah,
well, that's the objective. That's the objective, benefit, though, isn't it? You know, it's like I'm looking at it without being affected by it.
Yeah. because I look around and like I get to talk to some people, and I just see like there's just here. I'm just talking about from my point of view, my perspective. Like the education system has totally shit the bed. Like I deal with young people sometimes, and it's just like the amount of shit that they just have no idea of, like just history stuff,
man, it's the same here. It's fucked, like,
Yeah. So the history stuff is great, and that American Sermon, all the American Sermon stuff I love, and I wish I need to find some time or like a reason to go back and attack that a little bit more. Have you ever read Mitch Horowitz's book? It's called The Occult America or something like that.
No, I've got. I mean, that's on my long wish list for sure. I love Mitch's stuff. Like, I followed him from then. When he was like one of the earlier guys for that kind of stuff that I can remember. But I've done tons of kind of YouTube and different bits of reading about it. But I love that, I love the whole kind of sort of post World War One lead, between World War One and World War Two, there seemed to be a lot of, Crowley was over there and kind of like Blavatsky was over there, in the whole city. And then I've done a bit of stuff more through London, to be honest, just to scratch the surface of the kind of the occult construction of the cities as well. And the kind of like, the whole ley line, like, buildings as like resonating sort of like chambers and all that kind of stuff. So for me, that whole like real American boom time, between the wars and then after the Second World War, I can see a lot of stuff there, where there was some huge occult significance. But the stuff we picked up in the sermon and kind of like, the witch trials and the kind of the more sort of spooky ghost story type stuff really intrigues me as well.
Yeah, I think that my favorite one of those that I'm looking back on now, since we're talking about it, is the one about the Protestants who were praying for rapture. They would go and stand on their roofs and pray and hope to get taken up to God and stuff. I'm like, well, I feel like that when I'm in a house without air conditioning too, it can take me away.
I'll tell you what, it's not going to be long before thousands of people are going to be doing that. If there's another lockdown, we're going to see we're going to see rapturous fucking praying going on for sure.
Yeah. I look out and I'm like, we haven't really heard of it yet. No one's really talking about it, but I want to know what this is doing to like our suicide rates. We have a massive problem with that stuff anyways, let alone being locked down for 5 months.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like where I am. I work with guys coming out of prison, so I just work in like the office in the government building, and then I meet in ordinary times. I meet the guys that come out of prison. I try and hook them up with like somewhere to stay and like a job and stuff. And there's loads of depression and anxiety in that group of people, So I am seeing it. I'm kind of working at home and in the office. Yeah, I mean, it's just stress, eh? Like stress, especially on a mass scale, just creates so much fucking angst, man. I think we're going to get there, but I don't know. The last kind of week or 2 weeks, I kind of I try not to. You come to a point when you're so into like conspiracy kind of vibe and looking at things from that angle. I don't know about you, but I have to take breaks, because I can get into like sort of like 5-hour sessions on the laptop, sort of going on spirals about new subjects and then burn myself out. But I kind of was there, and I was walking and talking around to people. And I don't know about where you are. You're a bit behind on where we are, because we're starting to open up from our lockdown now. We're getting all that kind of hinty media stuff about second wave, and everyone's like, it's going to come, it's fucking coming.
Right.
But there's a kind of, for me anyways, my opinion, there's a healthy kind of pushback from people going, even people who aren't like heaps libertarian kind of like freedom of speech guys, just ordinary folk I would consider normally like quite subservient to authority. Kind of like, But it's right, eh? Like the average Joe just kind of goes, okay, fucking sound, whatever. Just give me a law, give me a ticket, whatever. And they don't ask questions. But even that crowd, which is most of the people I know, I'm seeing that kind of like do you know what? This is fucking. I don't care. I'm going out. Which I think we need that, man. We need that anyway.
Yeah. So where I am in Pittsburgh, we got let loose. Like they let us go. They opened up some restaurants. We were able to like go out and everything. And then as the testing increased, we started getting more positives because, I mean, that makes sense. More testing is going to lead to like a perceived spike, you know?
Yeah.
So they saw that spike and then they started locking everything back down. They just locked, they issued like a mandatory mask thing. And like, it's just like, it's like putting your foot in the water and then being like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, then putting your foot back in, like, what are we going to do? Every 2 months, we're going to get fucking locked back down? Like, this is silly.
This is it. It's fucking silly. And you know what? And this is not even at the point where these millennial fucking freak out kids are running the show. Yeah. If they were running the show now in 15 years' time, it would be fucking insane. But hey, man, I don't know. I think good out and all that, you know? I think.
I hope so. But yeah, but I think that's a huge part of the problem. There was just a study. I don't have anything prepared, but there was a study saying like they were polling millennials and they were like, you know, the question was something like, what's the likelihood that, you know, that you're actually in danger because of COVID-19? And like 30 of them were like 30% of them were like, I expect that I'm going to probably die because of it. And you're just like, I mean, it's silly on its face, but I mean, that's what it is. Like people read a headline or like a blurb on a meme and they have that idea that they know, you know, they know the whole story or whatever. And it's just,
I mean, you know, I've gone through a cycle of really wanting to just like poke millennials in the face when I see them kind of like scrolling through their phone too much, you know, like that old guy kind of annoyance when you're just somewhere and you see them and you just think, I fucking use your brain, you know. I kind of look at it like in a fascinated way now because you sit back from it. And I think what you said is really pertinent and important to what's going on now because, you know, we're the receivers of this situation, and that's all there ever is. There's a situation, and there's like the receiver, and there's a human, and it's a load of people. But you look at the receivers of this information now. Those gang of people will the government might as well just flash up on that thing, go out today in green, and they fucking read it and they'll go out, and then they fucking say go back home and they'll go home. You know, it's kind of, there's a lot going on there. It's a deep thing, you know, but.
Yeah. And then like, are you concerned at all with the trace tracking and all that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody who thinks in a certain way can see that for what it potentially is, you know. I think, I don't know, man. I ordered, as soon as this happened, I kind of, like I said, I got a huge wish list of kind of books that, you know, I kind of dip into every so often. As soon as that happened, I ordered it's on liberty. It's like by like a congressman or kind of from the founding fathers era. It's worth a look. I forget.
Is it Thomas Paine?
Someone like that.
Yeah,
and it's like a famous libertarian kind of, you know, like 200-page just treaty on liberty because. Straight away, that's where we are. You know, it's like we've taken a step and a jump from kind of what was the biggest thing? Maybe like scanning your thumbprint on your iPhone. That for me was kind of, you know, everybody just willingly going, oh, cool, I can get in and fucking, you know, there they go, they got the thumbprint. But I think now we're at the point where people are going to have to be getting back to that point of old school, you know, like. Amendment style debate, and I think we're going to be there for a decade.
Yeah, I remember just recently here stateside, I don't know, recently, maybe a year or two ago, they caught this serial killer named the Golden State Killer. He was this guy who was operational in California for a real long time.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they caught him is they put his fucking DNA through like 23andMe. and fucking 23andMe found people he was related to, and they were able to like whittle it down. And I was like, wow, that's great that they caught the guy, but is that ethical? Like, I mean, I guess if you're running around killing and raping people, you should do what you can to get them out. But that kind of thing set up a red flag for me. So it's like this whole thumbprint on your phone and like the face recognition technology and all that stuff. I'm always like, like we didn't pay enough attention to Demolition Man, like.
I watched that. I made my girlfriend watch that 2 weeks ago. I made her watch it 2 weeks ago. She was like, "No, please! I can already see what kind of movie it is. It's like the biggest guys movie ever." I was like, "You need to watch it. It tells you everything. It tells you everything." But, yeah, for sure, man. But I don't know. I try and keep. I mean, like I said, there's not I haven't got a big group of people around me who kind of think in the same way. But I try and keep kind of positive, because I think, unfortunately, they're going for the kids in a way. This is just. They want the kids to grow up in this background of like invasive technology and loss of and no liberty or limited liberty. I think they're looking 20 years time. We'll be we'll be in the woods, kind of catching squirrels and fucking and shit, and all the kids will just be going down walking down their 2 meter lines and stuff. But I don't know, man. I think I think at the end of the day, there's more. There is a huge thing of resistance, like I'm kind of my other funny position, I suppose, and this is it's probably the most difficult thing for me to kind of discuss at the moment, is like my dad was Jamaican, so I'm like kind of like mixed race, or I am mixed race, so at the minute I'm conservative in my views of everything, but right now I've had a couple of conversations recently about Black Lives Matter and the whole situation. And as soon as I step out of the like prescribed liberal view, man, I mean, I've had some crazy situations with people I know my whole life looking at me like I'm, about to go on the clock tower and start picking people off with a rifle. just because, like one guy came up to me that we've got a faction here in Jersey, and he said, "Hey, do you want to, like obviously." He's Indian. Both his parents are Indian. And he said, "Look, man, why are you not in the Jersey Black Lives Matters?" And I was sitting at my desk at work, and I was like, "Oh no, how do I answer this without triggering? Yeah. How do I not trigger this fucking guy?" And in the back of my head, I'm like, I've been in school with this guy since I was 5. Like obviously where we live, everybody knows everybody. It's like a fucking small place, And I'm like, already in my head, I'm like, I know for a fact both your parents are so privileged and have prospered in this mainly white community. We've done really well. We've never had any hate. And I held it all back, and I just said, "Oh, it's just a little bit too political for me." And that's all I said. So I thought, hopefully that'll just make him go, just leave me alone. And he like triggered. I said to someone else who who's cool. He like trigger jumped backwards. He took 2 jumps back, and he went, "What? It's not political. It's not political. It's about equality." And I thought, oh shit. And I went, "Look, man, I don't want to argue. I just don't want to join. Those assholes are assholes, and that's it." He was pissed off. He was pissed off, but that's where we are. It's fuck.
Yeah, like I'm always like ready, kind of, and it's like a shitty place to be, kind of like walking on eggshells around people that you've known forever. You know these people for like years, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my god, just that like I'm one sentence or one question away from like oblivion.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a question I'd ask you, John. It really interests me because kind of like I got used to it now. Like I'm people I know intimately in every kind of way, best friends, like share my life with, and they have no idea that, they have no idea. These are like the people who potentially would not call me back if I told them, that there was some fucking funny shit going on with 9/11, that they would just literally stop hanging out with me, because and I respect that. I do respect that, but kind of I don't know for you, like if you're saying that you've also had that with different people, and because you're so out there on a platform with a podcast and everything, your view, you're giving out your heart really and your views on all this stuff. Like, have you had to like sit down with family and friends and stuff, or has everybody been quite cool about it? Or
well, my family is cool about it. But it's ironic. They've had years of dealing with this. My family is like, my old man is a communist. Like, he's like out in the open, like, so like a socialist. So it's like every time that we get on the phone, every time we get on the phone or we get around each other, we're always just like, I don't want to say that because it's like I'm going to spend the next 3 hours fucking arguing with this guy about it, you know. So, but everyone's been nothing but you know, they're always supportive. And usually if I'm at a family function and stuff, everyone just tries to stay away from politics, you know, because, but as far as like the podcast is concerned, in the early days, like when I did it's funny, the American Sermon keeps coming up. When I did the American Sermon about Plymouth Rock, and we were talking about how basically it was America's first experiment in communism and how it failed. Like I got dogpiled on iTunes. Like I just got fucking you know, I got 1 starred, and but I just learned just not to pay attention. Like I don't pay attention to reviews and stuff very much because you just get wind up. If I start tailoring my message, you know, for stars or reviews or however people are going to treat me, then I feel like I'm compromised, you know. The other thing is, I can't remember, I think I did a Biden episode, maybe like one of my first Biden episodes, and someone I can't remember what it was. I was off topic and I was bitching about the football players kneeling, and someone wrote a review saying that like it's obvious this guy's a straight up racist, you know. So that was like the one time I got the R word poked at me, but I was able to like kind of like question the Apple moderators or something, and they wound up taking it off eventually. So, but I just go through and just do what I'm going to do, and then I'll figure out how to deal with the repercussions. I figure that's the only honest way for me to do it.
Yeah, I kind of think for me, like it was even just before this situation happened, I kind of thought to myself, I need to be more honest with my opinions, you know, because it really, I've got into that, like keeping my lip buttoned at the cocktail party situation so much, you know. But right now, it's for me, the way things are now, you kind of, it's not a great situation to be in, but I think you've got to take a side, you know. And every conversation now is kind of like, you know, Black Lives Matter and this and that. And I think I'm definitely being pushed from my subconscious somewhere to go, you know, tell them.
Yeah. So when the Seattle thing happened, they took over like a couple city blocks in Seattle.
Well, actually, when the free state of Chad happened, I went. Was it Chad?
Yeah.
I like what I just like emailed some of my younger mates who are quite cool, quite clever, and I went, look, you need to see this for what it. I went on a big rant, man, because I couldn't handle that shit. You know, I was like, this is lawless Mad Max socialist nonsense, and you need to see it for what it is. But sorry, that was the big thing for me. That.
Yeah, so I've been kind of piling up a bunch of communist stuff to talk about, but I thought that I was piling it up for the Democratic convention. Like I thought I was going to just do like a thing when the convention rolled around. But when this Chad thing happened, I was like, I feel like I need to start talking about this now, not in the way of Black Lives Matter, because I mean that's so silly. How could you can't say Black Lives don't matter? Like that's the brilliant part about how they named the movement, you know. But so what I was like, fine, I'm just going to transfer all this stuff and talk about it as what it is, Marxism, you know. And I you know, you're real close to France, so you probably know about the coming insurrection, like the little blue book. So I got that out and I start doing like a series on that. And then, do you know who Trevor Loudon is?
I listened to the Antifa episode.
Yeah, so I reached out, I got a hold of him. Like I seen something he did on TV, and I just Facebooked him, and he was like, "Yeah, come on, let's do it, bro." You know, yeah. So that was really cool. So you know, I'm kind of at that spot where I'm like, I kind of mentioned it on Sunday's episode where I'm like, you know, I feel like kind of like how you feel like you know, we can't, you know, the old saying, like the only thing that evil needs is good men to do nothing, or some potential thing like that. So I was like, I feel like I need to, my small podcast that I have, and I'm like, well, I have like a little bit of a voice, so let's talk about it, So that's kind of where I am. Like I'm in the same kind of place where I'm like, am I happy to come out here and talk shit like this? No, I would rather be talking about wizards and blowjobs. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But
I think, to be honest, man, I think what you're doing is kind of like, like I was saying before, what I liked about, or I do like about. I have listened predominantly to the political stuff, I suppose. A few bits and bobs of Genesis, but like I was like Catholic school my whole life, so I find that difficult to. I just want to fuck that shit up.
Right.
But the thing with political and how in the shows that you've done, you've given over the information with little dashings in your opinion. I've never got the feeling that you're like, we need to fucking stop this socialist fucking uprising.
Yeah,
There's none of that.
Yeah.
There's none of that. There's kind of just the information. And at the moment, like I was kind of mentioning before, I'm seeing, which is making me feel good, I'm seeing people who are kind of moderate, maybe not involved in their minds in the political scene, who are going, whoa, this is too much, or this is not right. And I think, I think all of us who maybe think more in depth about this and who kind of worry about this and notice it in relation to especially events in the history, of which this mirrors, obviously, as we know, like almost perfectly into certain events in history. I think we do need to kind of speak the information and just be cool, man. And for me, the opposite, that kind of triggered smashing shit down and ramming down the windows and screaming in people's faces. I think the opposite to that is what we need to do, man. Just sit, be cool, tell the information, and that's it, man.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that, when I hear stuff like that, it really makes me feel good, because like the last thing I want to do is like get on there and like bash people, or it's criminal to try to tell people what to think. You know what I mean? Like, instead, just read the shit, because people out there aren't going to read the fucking coming insurrection, so plug in for an hour. I'll read it to you, Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's an awesome part of it, is being, I've actually got a plan. And that's one thing I was going to ask you. I got all my Nietzsche's, which I've read like chapters of, like Beyond Good and Evil, Zarathustra. I haven't got Will to Power. I've got like 3 or 4. And so I want to read them kind of in a row. But if I haven't looked at the Zarathustra episodes, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, if I listen to those, could I like read a chapter and then listen to your episode? Yeah, it looks like a good way to do it.
Well, so the Zarathustra episodes basically have like 2 different configurations. The regular episodes is me just straight up reading out of the book and kind of commenting like I do. And then there's also the lessons of Zarathustra, where I kind of start picking apart certain things of the chapters that we read before. So I think there might be like 8 of the lessons, and I think there's like, it seems like there's like 20 or something of just like the regular me reading the book. It's a huge book, and halfway through it, I was fucking shooting myself for deciding to do it, because I was just like, oh my god.
I mean, all philosophies is really dense, right? But I really like the idea of almost like the book club deep dive podcast thing, because books unbelievable resource, especially at the moment, for kind of the right kind of information and widening people's minds and stuff. But it's the more busy the world's become for me, the less I've been able to dedicate time to reading. So it's good to have that. It really is,
Yeah. So the Zarathustra episodes, I'm not a philosopher. Like, I'm not deep. I'm not that deep to get into philosophy or whatever. So it was something that I decided that I was going to try to do for the show. So for a lot of that stuff, this is the first time I'm reading it, is when I'm sitting down to read it on the microphone. And there's one in specific, one chapter where Zarathustra is talking about how he's a hunter and a fisherman, and a theme that keeps going around, and thus spake Zarathustra, is this idea of eternal recurrence. Things are going over and over again, the same thing's happening to him. And all of a sudden I just start thinking, and there's a Tool song that rips that whole chapter of Zarathustra. It even starts with, I'm a hunter and a fisherman. And it talks about like the same thing happened to him over and over again. And I was like, I have this revelation while I'm reading it on the podcast. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. It's so cool.
Nietzsche's had like a huge lasting effect, man. He's arguably, I think after Plato, he's arguably the most like sort of wide-reaching philosopher in terms of his thing. I mean, the God is Dead monologue from The Joyous Science. Mm-hmm. I don't know, the God is Dead monologue from The Joyous Science. I mean, that's what hooked me in, and I think over the years on different podcasts. I mean, I like listen to like Aeon Byte, and I used to listen to loads of Freeman. You know, I mean, Freeman was the first guy I ever seen back in the day on the internet, and anything in between. I've heard that particular excerpt, the God is Dead sort of page or whatever, tons of times. And for me, within that is everything, man. Is everything that's going on now and has been going on for a while. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely a very postmodern thing, and people, I think. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of authority on Nietzsche or whatever, but I think that a lot of people misrepresent or misinterpret what he's saying there. Yeah, when he says God is dead, it's not like a celebration. It's like he's going, all right, motherfuckers, we killed God. What goes in that void? What do you do next? You know.
Well, to be honest, I was there. You know, I kind of like listened to it when I was way more naive and kind of learning. And I thought, like, I didn't even know what nihilism was then, but I thought, this guy's just like a really messed up kind of like nothing nihilist, you know? And then obviously, like, he was like, you know, he's associated with Hitler and stuff, but that, for me, and Nietzschean philosophy is a really good example of actually how kind of the conservative outlook and the confidence. You know, not, I suppose for men now, there's a need to be confident above judgment because everybody's judging. But like the conservative viewpoint on the world and the confidence to be like, look, people can be better and will, and your like your inner strength and your like arrogance in a way is not necessarily a bad thing. Nietzsche is the best example of that, you know, in plain English, but it is being conflated massively with kind of just evil, nihilistic nothingness, you know, but it's totally the opposite to that. And for me, you know, like I said, I've kind of flicked through them and I use them as references, and I've done like my own kind of research on different Nietzschean kind of concepts and stuff, and it's beautiful, man. It's life affirming, it's growth stuff, it's the best, it's the original self-development, you know. The will to power and the Uberman is about, it's like the Christ thing. It's like trying to go through the difficulties and reach that, you know. It's a Gnostic thing as well, huh?
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
Yeah, so in a lot of my more occult kind of episodes, we talk about like shadow work, you know, like these the concept of turning around and facing the shit that you're trying to run from in your normal life, and like having that the courage to deal with that, the shitty part of yourself. And whenever I get into that stuff, and whenever I got into Zarathustra and Nietzsche and all that stuff, like I start looking at all this stuff, magic and philosophy, as it's just an aspect of psychology, you know, and just the way like you were just talking about.
Yeah, well, I like that. I remember you said that when I started listening early on, and for sure, you know, like I kind of it's my biggest fascination, to be honest, is kind of is growth and personal enrichment through adversity and difficulty, you know. And I think it's something that's really coming to prominence. You see it everywhere, and you know, like I kind of have to work it with guys in prison, coming out of prison, you know, they, without you know, kind of trying to speak bad of them. 70% of them have got kind of shitty lives, you know, so they're coming out of a shitty situation into real shitty lives. And that's even where I am. I'm in a kind of like quite affluent part of the world where there's not half the problems there are in some parts of the world, but subjectively for them, it's still really shit, and it is shit. But the small, unfortunately small percentage of people I see who kind of really turn themselves around, it's fascinating to watch. You know, they kind of go through so many difficulties that they are like fucking, they just become like the Fonz of dealing with difficulties. You know, they go through a shitty situation and they kind of like, they're on fire, and then they pat themselves out and they're like, hey, how's it going? You know, where we would just be like, yeah, they become so strong basically from being continually in this like fucking pile of shit, until one day they apply this sort of things, they really come, you know, to an awesome place. They become like, without wanting to like grandiose it too much, I see these guys, you know, especially if they're going through the criminal lifestyle for decades, they kind of get to like 40, late 30s, and they're like, oh, fuck this. But you talk to them about life and about, without using the terms, they might not know the terms, but you talk to them about how people think, psychological concepts and the way of the world. They are switched on philosophers, man. They're so astute to the world, and just through dealing with adversity, man, you know, they become really up there.
Yeah, so it's funny. Well, it's not really funny, but I've been thinking a lot about alchemy and the alchemical process lately. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about it on, you know, like, so I totally think all this stuff that's happening with the virus and Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, I believe it's either was allowed to happen or it's being forced to happen. And I think after the election, it's probably all just going to go away overnight, you know, if the election goes, you know, the right way or whatever. So I've been thinking a lot about the alchemical process. And this is like, what you have to do is you have to take the prime material and then you have to break it down. And you break it down, you break it down, you break it down, and then you kind of recombine it into this new thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think, you know, as a culture, if we're not careful, we're being broken down, and however we get reconfigured or recombined is going to be like the new kind of thing. Is how we're gonna be. Yeah. But that also is like what you're talking about on a macrocosmic level of with your prisoners or your the guys getting out of jail. You know, they've been through it. They've been broken down, and then the fucking oven opens up, someone shoves them out into your hands, and then like they have to recombine, you know, themselves. Yeah. And I imagine a lot of them, you know, fail at it or don't do a very good job. But then there's just some people that do. And another thing that I always think about is like the lack of initiation that we have. Huge. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's the same way across the pond over there. But here it's just like everyone, like, unless you go to college and you join a fraternity, unless you're a Freemason, I guess like football, like a high level football program probably does that for you. Or if you were in the military, you know, you don't have that. And a lot of those initiation processes are the exact same thing I'm talking about. They take you as an individual, they fucking smash you up and shake all the bullshit out of you. They, you know, a lot of them have like some kind of death, like fake death kind of thing, and then like they raise you back up and here you go, you know, now you're a Mason or now you're in the army or you know whatever, and then they pat you on your butt and you're on your way out. I feel like that's all kind of different aspects of the same thing that we're talking about. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely, man. I think, you know, that's it's all part and parcel and connection of kind of every societal kind of like macro issue that's going on now, because like for me, like through the work and stuff, but I'm seeing it interlinked now more and more with kind of just, you know, my own research and looks into the political situation and like I said, everything that's going on in society, that like you said, the lack of initiation can be superimposed over you know, the issue with men, which is hugely widespread. I mean, it's become, I'm glad, like a cliche now, but you know, male suicide, the male issue with crime, prison, drinking, all those stats where men hit the top. These are all things that kind of can be like not solved, but can be tackled with just the initiatory process. You look at sport, you look at like militaries, like all those things that you ticked off. And I'm not saying this is like a gender thing, just using it as it's probably the easiest example is like those things are all mainly frequented by men. And those guys genuinely, I mean, the military can really fucking mess with people, obviously, but people, you know, a large percentage from the military, from sports, from fraternities and societies come out as quite developed and like awesome people, where the other way of no initiation and being like free to run around with your mind can result, and it is resulting more and more real difficulties for people. I kind of gathered the idea from looking especially at the birth of like secret societies and, you know, Rosicrucians and that kind of thread. It's kind of like some of them must have known, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, they dipped into antiquity and stole and borrowed so much from, you know, like the tribal cultures and the sort of
like the Western mystery traditions and stuff like that.
Exactly, the Western mystery traditions, but also like, you know, the Maya and the Inca and the originals. You know, they kind of seen that through imperialism and that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that some of them must have joined the dots and thought, you know, this initiation thing is the way to go. If we want to refine our clan, if we want to refine our group and make it successful and kind of powerful and together, we got to go through this process. It's like initiation is like sort of imprinted into the cosmos, you know, into, you know, definitely into our psyches. It's something that we need. Like,
yeah. So my initiation process was through the U.S. Army. Like, you know, yeah. I was like this listless fucking skate punk. You know, I just went in to get money for college and some good stories. Like that's all that I wanted.
Yeah.
And, but going through the whole thing and like, you know, you come out the other end, and it's funny because like even when I see a guy that's serving right now, like say I'm at Walmart and I see a dude walk by me in his uniform, I already know what, you know, I don't know everything about the dude for sure, but we have a shared experience. I think that's what it's like a fucking team building exercise, but it's like in your soul or something. And like I have dudes that I haven't actually physically spoken to for 20 years, but we'd sit there and bullshit on like Facebook or something like all the time, like likes, thumbs up, hey, how's everything going, you know, whatever. And it's just like I feel like if one of them was like, hey, can you get on a plane and come down here because I'm having a real rough time with something, I would probably fucking go and help the guy out, you know. So it's like this deep like thing, and it's just this weird thing, and it's like I feel like everybody would be better to have gone through something like it.
Huge. Well, you know, I'm trying at the moment, to be honest, part of this, when I was kind of looking at the Vessel of the Art stuff, I thought, I've got to get down with that, you know. And like, I heard you saying about having a call. I thought, yeah, that's cool, man. Because I'm really at a stage, I'm trying to reach out to kind of people with similar interests. I'm trying like a passion project to get a blog together.
Okay.
Kind of. Well, I'm a meditation teacher as well on the side. So like I've been meditating for about 10 years, kind of like that's my big thing, you know. So I've got a few private clients, and before all the lockdown and stuff, I had classes. So I'm trying to do some stuff with that, but I want to make it kind of like the title I came up with was kind of like Sacred Balance, you know.
Okay.
To kind of have content on, you know, meditation, Zen, and all that sort of stuff, all with the kind of leaning for personal development, because I'm kind of into that as well through work, but also to draw in like the Hermetic stuff. Obviously you got like the Kabbalion and you know, the Hermetic principles. A lot of those are basically balance, you know, correspondence and you know, above, so below, all that sort of stuff. So drawing a whole load of work on a blog around that thread of balance. But the first actual post that I started writing was called Cosmic Initiation.
Okay. So, oh wow.
Yeah, because my story, you just really reminded me, because like my story was the same sort of thing when I was an idiot when I was like 19, you know, and kind of like just drinking, and that was it, just drinking and not doing too much else with my life. And I kind of like my auntie in Australia, she phoned the house one day, I picked up the phone and she said, oh, why don't you come over here, you know, have some fun and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, like long story short, I went over there and I just ended up on this like insane, wild kind of ride, you know. And I came out the other end a completely changed person with in 11 months.
Wow.
And I remember I've literally never been the same person since. I was only in fact, I was 20. I came out when I was 21 and a half or something like that. And I just remember this complete turnaround. And it was years later, decades later, I always look back to that time thinking, fuck, if I hadn't have gone there, I could have just been just a bum, you know? And when I look into it, and this is kind of huge, without going into it too much, I really look at it because I flip a tarot card every day, you know, tarot is my kind of little hook into magic. I've got a real connection with it. But when I look at the tarot, the major arcana was all there in my trip, you know. I left totally as the fool, for sure, you know, just walking off the cliff. But I had kind of all the potential in the world. But I dived, and then, without going straight through consecutively through the cards, I had all those aspects. The whole hero's journey thing, you know, happened to me for sure. You know, I acted as the magician. I had aspects of judgment and all that sort of stuff, and I've pieced that together in my mind over the years. And I really think that the initiatory process is kind of there, and that's the cosmic initiation bit. I think if you're somebody and you know there's more, and you kind of want to move beyond, or you want to make the best of yourself, all that stuff, I think if you know the kind of pattern of initiation, and you know enough about the archetypal kind of structure, then I think you can make it work for yourself, you know? That's what I think anyway. And that's it's all there, man. It's all there, you know, an initiation, everything.
Yeah. I've been thinking about doing a modern grimoire, detailing doing a self-initiation,
Oh, for sure.
I've been calling it a heavy metal self-help book or something like that. But
black, just black fucking.
Yeah. Because the kind of stuff we're talking about is the kind of stuff that I'm really into, which is kind of using this stuff as self-help, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if you take a lot of that new agey self-help stuff, I think if you boil it down, get into the old books, you know, get rid of the butterflies and the unicorns and all this other kind of stuff. Oh. I think there's some really good things in there. You know, I don't know if I'm qualified to write a self-help book, you know, but I think it's something that I want to do. It's something that I've been toying around with, especially after I just finished my tarot card deck. So it's just, I feel like it's the next thing that the podcast is kind of wanting me to do.
Yeah. I think that would be awesome. And it's kind of this, you know, like I said, I'm kind of working on the blog every now and then, and I think with the best podcasters, bloggers, or whatever, you can't help but have this whole series of topics. You know, you can't help having this whole series of topics where you occult history, violence, and conspiracy, or whatever, and then. You know, for you as an example, there's even more than that. When you go into each thread, there's more topics, but that's kind of the whole kind of psychological Jungian thing. It's the map of the psyche is not just one thing. It's all these other things. And then if you look at those things, they're just really kind of different aspects of a person. So I think self-help to me in personal development is really intrinsic in that, you know, I kind of, when I know the very rarely the kind of person who I think is a little bit around these parts, who's a little bit more kind of subversive and maybe would be into stuff, I kind of always say, I just this is funny. This is the first time this happened in a long time in Jersey. Cause like I said, everyone's just fucking, you know, playing to the gods of, kind of materialism and stuff. But where I work is the front door, and obviously the customers coming in, and at the moment we're just closed for a long time. And there's this really young, sweet kind of girl who's the hostess, and she greets the public and kind of stuff. And she kind of, you know, it's my fault for judging, but I don't really know her. But she just looks like an average kind of kid, probably just into kind of fucking, I don't know what they're listening to now, you know, kind of like Beyonce, kind of just average, nothing subversive you would ever imagine when you look at her to come out of it. And she's sitting there like flicking on the thing, and me and my boss were just kind of like, you know, giving her a little bit of shit in a friendly way. Come on, you know, get off your phone. What's the social media and all that? And she went, oh, it's just TikTok. You know TikTok? And I said, oh, look, guys, fucking please turn that off. I can't stand that. I said, people dancing around, blah, blah, blah. And she turned around to me and she went, no, man, there's more. I went, look, come on. I went, don't tell me there's more. There's just loads of kids dancing around. I said, you know, I'm giving her the, like, do more with your life, you're clever shit. And she turns around to me straight up and comes close and gives me her phone, and she goes, look at this. She goes, it knows what you like. So it's only got the stuff I like on there, and it's interested. And she doesn't know anything about me or my stuff. And she goes, look at what this guy's doing. She shows me a video of some dude writing Illuminati backwards into Google. and then she went, and she goes to me, she goes, look, he's typing Illuminati backwards into Google, and he's got into the NSA. And she goes, I told you, it's interesting. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, put that shit in your pocket. I went, look, don't talk to me at work about that stuff. I was like, well, cool, that's fair play. Let's keep going, do that stuff at home. Yeah. So I guess those kids are out there, but yeah, totally, man. I think it's all the stuff that you're doing and all these subjects for me, you know, especially now, it's such a bombardment for people of information, of politics, of like social issues, of economics. It's so effective in people's lives now. You know, me and my girlfriend's kind of got the same. She's into this stuff, you know. And when we went into lockdown and everyone was like heaps anxious, we said to each other, I'm so glad I know what I know. I'm so glad I know the history. I know the kind of black ops side of things. I know the occult side of things, because you can't deal with a situation properly until you can face it for what it is. So, you know, and I think self-help is definitely can be bolted onto this stuff for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how'd you get into meditation? Did it come like naturally, or
Well, no, it was kind of part of that whole thing. Like, I was really like, one thing we got here, Jersey is one of those little, it's one of those little pockets of extreme heavy drinking on the planet. You know, we're like, it's funny, they've displayed it on the front of the local paper a couple of times. We've come in like the top 10 for per head drinking. Seriously, man, we got a huge drinking kind of thing. It's like a small town vibe. Hey, there's nowhere to go and whatever.
Yeah,
so
it's because you're isolated, right?
Exactly, it's the isolation thing. It's like the stuff in Scandinavia and that. You know, it's fucking nobody there. There's nothing to do. So there we go. So like a lot of my friends, bless them, I love them, but they're kind of like, you know, I booze, you know, I drink, but this is, you know, they're into some fucking 24/7 shit. Or if it's not 24/7, it's like 5 PM until fucking 1, like, you know, tequila all the way. But anyway, so I was kind of like desperate to come out of that lifestyle, and the thing in Australia, the last segment of it, I kind of was in Queensland, where it was kind of hippie-ish. I was never a hippie. I was kind of like the whole like English oasis, just drinking and fighting kind of vibe. And yeah, I kind of got into it there, and I seen it was the new age kind of thing, which I didn't know what that was then. But I did a bit of yoga and I hung out with these people, and they're really free, really childish, you know. Everyone from where I was from was really kind of like attitude and that whole kind of like young asshole guy thing. And I thought, these people are cool, man. And they were talking about cool stuff, and there was just books around about yoga, and there was a few grimoires around, and they were really into it. In Byron Bay in Australia, there's some deep everything. And then the guy I still speak to now, we had like an experience, man. We did some DMT.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking, I was at anything goes Joe at that time, you know. So it was. I was like, yeah, give it here, you know. Fucking, I'll give it here, and I'll go to sleep after, sort of thing. But that was like the red pill, huh? You know, that was the fucking red pill into the matrix. And me and him did it together on a whim, just thinking we were going to go get high. We didn't get high. We went into this other kind of realm, or whatever. And kind of, you know, I didn't really have, you know, it wasn't like I just seen God. It was more like, okay, there's more to this whole shindig than just left and right and up and down kind of thing. So that was it. When I said I changed, I kind of flipped my paradigm. And what I realized is kind of, I was like movie obsessed as a kid, right up until I was like a teenager. I was like repeatedly watching. I was really into fantasy and kind of Terry Gilliam and kind of sci-fi a little bit, but more into fantasy, man. You know, I'm like, come on, man. You remember the 80s, the fucking, you know, the whole thing, Dune and Cruel and all that shit. I would just get lost and just like overwatch that shit. And funny as it seems, when I came out of Australia and I had that DMT experience, and we had a couple, you know, we seen a couple of psychics after that stuff, and it was kind of, you know, it was hippie trippy, but it really stayed with me. And I came back here and I just did I fucking went away from my friends. I started doing yoga. I kind of just became a lot cooler. I mean, as in within myself, you know, I chilled out. But I could never, I kept fucking up. I kept like getting kicked out of my mum's place, and I kept going on big drinking binges for 6 months and then losing jobs. And even though like I'd found the key, you know, like I'd reached some sort of like path, I kept falling off of it.
It doesn't always take on the first try.
For sure. So anyway, whatever, I kind of like life experience. I had my daughter. I had my daughter like 10 years ago. And she's 10, just gone 10. So yeah, it was a few months before she was born. I kind of stuff was going on. I started drinking again. And I thought, fuck this. I'm not going to like, you know, I know all this stuff. I was doing loads of conspiracy research at the time, actually, when my ex-girlfriend was pregnant. And I was kind of on it in a good way. But I was like really being an asshole with a drink. And I was into yoga. And as I was Googling yoga, I thought, let's go to a yoga class, make that regular. I learned about meditation. I found a teacher, and it just gave me, you know, I say to people in my beginners classes, I say I was, you know, because I try and pass on to the people who come and learn that actually you're not going to come to this class and then walk out a changed person. You have to apply the practice. You have to apply the method. And even if you apply the method and you don't meditate for 2 weeks, you want to bring yourself back. You're going to have to think about the changes that you made back then, you know, kind of vibe, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I had that. That was the last thing. That was the last twist that let me open the door. It just done something, you know, like I said, I was eating better. I was kind of yogaing for a few years. I was drinking less, sort of. And I was just being in that, what I understand now is that kind of attitude of meditation, more that kind of Zen, open way. That kind of just helped me, man. And I've never looked back. I meditate twice a day. And
wow.
I do an hour a day, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. And I try to every like month, I try and do a different technique, more for being a teacher. I try and keep myself knowledgeable. But yeah, that's it, man. And it keeps me cool, you know, with booze and stuff, which was like my crutch at one time. I can take it or leave it. My kind of anger is gone. I had a lot of anger. That's gone. All that rational minded stuff. I mean, look, it fucking works, you know. So if you go past like 2 years, I say to people, then you really feel like an offload.
Yeah.
But I needed it. Yeah, I needed it. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you might have been, you know, in a real rough way, but you're like very positive dude now. Like, you know, I think that's really great for you, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I mean, I was by no means, you know, in a terrible situation at all, but I'm all about like kind of the subjective experience, you know, because I see people in all sorts of different levels. Some people are completely gone and they've had terrible abusive upbringing and they're really angry, and that sucks. But then if somebody's had a really good upbringing, but then they have a divorce and that really puts them in a bad place, then to them that's really bad and it's still bad. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But,
it's like you have to put everything in context, even people. You know, you have to put people in context too.
Yeah. You want to get away from like thinking like, oh, you can only be saved if you're someone who's really, 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 really fucked. You know? Everybody's got some saving to do, man. You know, everybody's got some saving to do. But yeah, so that's that. But yeah, I did it's funny, when I first started listening to you, you were doing your fasts, and that was the last little thing I experimented with, you know. And fasting and meditation together is nice, man. That's a nice little combo. You still doing that, or?
No, because of the pandemic, I eased off of that. I've been drinking a little bit too much, you know.
Oh, yeah, same.
I have my family has a history of mental problems, so I'm constantly just checking myself and just, you know, just doing what I need to do just to be cool with what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably get back to it maybe if things ever get back to normal. Yeah, another thing is, it's like, I don't want to be stuck, you know, 2 days into a fast when some other crazy shit happens and like I can't get to any kind of food or something like that, you know. Like, I don't.
Yeah, this is it. The only thing with it, man, it's kind of, you do need to be set up, and I'll try and do like 2 days a week, even like 18 hours. And I kind of don't try and I've only done it twice where I've said like, I'm going to fast for like a day, like 24 hours, and like think about it. But I try and trick myself by just like eating at 6.
Yeah.
Loads of work that I've got to do in the morning, and then just like eating again at 2. So I don't really think about it, you know? So it's like, but I get you, man. You know, it's not something. And the thing that I struggle with the most is if I'm busy, I just think, oh shit, man, I need to eat because I need brain fuel, you know? Right. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, it's weird because like the weirdest thing is when I was doing it, like the longest I did was like 4 days.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's weird because it's like I would just wake up in the middle of the night just pumped full of energy, you know? And it's like, I haven't fucking eaten anything in 2 days. So what was going on is my body just found something to chew on in there, you know? And it was like, hey, guess what? We got some energy now, fucker. Like, wake up, you know? And, I struggle with insomnia real bad.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so it's like, it's always like, great. Like if I wake up in the middle of the night to take a leak, you know, I'm getting old, so that happens like all the time. You know, like it's always like a roll. It's always like a roll of the dice whether I'm able to get back to sleep or not. So
yeah, mate. Yeah. 4 hours is average. 5 hours is a luxury for me. You know, like but.
All right, man. So I think I'm going to take off, unless you have anything else for me.
No, man. That was really amazing for you to take the time. I really appreciate it to be able to talk to you about that stuff, man. And I just I'm looking forward to more stuff. The one thing I was going to ask is like something that I think would be awesome from your perspective that I'm looking for a podcast on, but I can't find it. It's like the McCarthy trials. I don't know. I don't know if you ever considered that. I think that would be good right about now, you know?
Yeah. Like I told you, like I'm lining up stuff for commies, you know, so it just fits right in there, you know? Well, here, actually, I'm going to write that down.
I think the McCarthy trials would be good because I remember reading like sometime last year that actually a few of his big picks where he was kind of really, obviously like the army general ruined him, but a couple of the big picks that he made where people for decades were like, nah, you're crazy. Yeah. Like, came through. Yeah.
Yeah. When the wall fell and all those documents start leaking out, they found that McCarthy was right, basically. So as far as the phone calls go, what happens generally is I'll actually post this first one. And then every month we'll just do a call. I mean, if you want to, it's not like mandatory or anything. And then we just touch base. It's just a way for me to get to know you guys, more. And just the bullshit. We don't even have to talk about the show or do anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm in, man. I'm really up for it. Like I said, I'm trying to keep myself going now to get my own stuff going. So this really helps me just to bounce stuff around. So yeah, I'm in, man. Yeah. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, and congratulations and good luck on the blog. And I tried to do a blog, and I ran out of time. Like, it was just I just couldn't get it to work. But if there's anything I can do to help you out, man, just let me know.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what. I'll let you have a read. I'll be interested of your opinion when I get a post there. I'll send it over and see what you think.
Yeah, for sure. I would be totally down for that. So thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. And hey, thank you also for being patient on your vessel because of the shipping difficulties, like I'm going to have to sit on it for like a month or two before I get it out to you, but it will go out.
Hey, no worries, man. It's all good,
Yeah.
brother. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you do, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And we'll be in touch.
Yeah, man. Take it easy. Bye.
All right. Take it easy. Yep. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
Hey, did you learn something? Did you laugh? Supporting me is a way for you to be a part of the Advercast and ensure its growth and sustainability. It also means I can create a normal schedule for shows and bonus shows, as well as the exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. By supporting the show, you are not only a listener, but you are a part of the show. You supporting the show gives me a way to offer fun rewards as a thank you for showing your appreciation and support for our projects. Do you have an idea for a reward that you don't see? Let me know. My supporters are my partners. I currently pay for you to listen to the Advercast. Not only do I pay the hosting bills out of my own pocket, I volunteer my time and talent to each and every episode of the Advercast. The price of books, the time and resources of reading and researching, the massive amounts of gin and tonic needed, the equipment it takes to record the shows, the time and resources it takes to create the bonus material, and the cost to maintain the internet presence. Is it worth your support? I don't know. I am proud of the Advercast, and I feel like I'm improving all the time. In addition to creating the show that you dig and that you are excited about, I also have a full-time commitment and other obligations. So why financial support? All of the supporters help me focus my time on the quality and development of the podcast. And what if you can't afford, $1 or $3 or $10 or whatever a month? Believe me, I get that. There are many degrees of support, but if you can't support the show financially, please consider leaving a 5-star rate and review on your preferred podcast app. And don't forget that you can sign into the mailing list and still unlock a lot of bonus content. Thank you. I cannot put into words how much it means to me that you listen to the show each time I post a new episode. Your feedback, support, and love of the stories that we talk about here is what keeps me going.